Hey guys, how's it going? This is Ivory Deadlift, aka Gigi is a pedo, aka George's Mom Lucy, aka Rick Darius, and a few others I've forgotten. Yeah, a couple of you guys have been making your videos about the Gigi radio show that was on last night. It was the night before last. So I thought I would give my thoughts on it. I thought I'd give a UK perspective. First of all, George, I would like to say to you that you are a pathetic little man. The way you were talking about that lady who's, again, I'm not going to mention her name, we all know who she is. The way you were talking about her live on air, saying all these derogatory things about her, saying, oh man, I can't even bring myself to repeat it. I mean, it was pathetic. The things you were saying about a woman. You're a misogynist, George. You're a woman hater. You only have interest in women who you are attracted to or you think you have a chance with. Everybody else is like a slut, wrinkly old bag. You're just a true gentleman, aren't you, George? You know, you're the epitome of good taste and manners. The second thing I wanted to say about your show was that the way you behaved and the things you were saying, my God, they was... I can't even put it into words. Unprofessional in a nutshell. It was just ridiculous. Merry Clipmas? What? Play on words? No, mate. What was the other thing you were saying? Let me molest you? I mean, it was on at 9 o'clock at night, and I don't think they have radios in Pollard Park, so none of the kids are going to be able to hear you. You know, I'm assuming that's who you were talking to. The third thing I wanted to say about your show was the roll call you gave at the end of some of the goons. Read their names out. Do you think that people listening to the show are going to go, Wilmington, Carolina, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to take me a plane up there and I'm going to go take a shot at that guy. I'm going to go up to the Bronx, take a shot at that guy too. Nobody gives a fuck, George. You know, people were listening to you going, what the fuck is he on about? The only people who knew you were talking about was us. And we were laughing. We thought it was great. There's been a lot of discussion about it. You made a complete fool of yourself. You think you got the upper hand by doing your come on down thing that wasn't really funny at all, was it? You know, and you gave people a roll call which was like a badge. Mentioning people's names together, it's like a badge. It's like, yeah, cool, man, you're admitting that we're getting under your skin. Sweet, perfect, everybody was happy. The next thing I wanted to say about your show was that the only people who called in that didn't prank you were either inbreeds, who were probably your friends, or the 80-odd-year-old woman from Florida who clearly has some kind of mental disorder because, George, can you sing for us? She wanted you to fucking sing. Anybody who wants you to sing either hasn't heard you sing, but she had. So this just shows how nuts she is. Is either got a low-level mental disorder, is stupid, or is absolutely stone deaf. And I don't know which one she was, but she seemed to like you, so I'm guessing it was probably the low-level mental disorder one. Or high-level. Could have been anything. She must have been out of her mind. That's the only thing I could think of. Yeah, the only people who provided any entertainment on that show were the goons who called in and pranked you. I did notice that nobody actually called in who knew you. Nobody called in like a friend or anything like that, which just seems to make me think that you are actually really unpopular. I bet you could probably count how many friends you have on one hand. 6. The other thing about the lady you said we were talking about earlier on, she called into your show apparently. This is what you're saying. And you were saying, you know, she was being, I couldn't hear it, nobody could, because, you know, you couldn't work out how to use the electricity in the studio or something. And she apparently called in and was being very rude, foul-mouthed. You were complaining about her being foul-mouthed, which was quite ironic, I thought. And she was supposed to have been saying all these derogatory things to you and making a fool of herself. Well, do you know what? She didn't even know your show was on, like most people in Richmond. Nobody gave a crap, and she had no idea your show was on. I've spoken to her. I know her. She's a Facebook friend of mine. And she didn't know about any of this stuff until I told her. Now, fortunately, with technology the way it is, and the fact that generally the goons, well, not generally, altogether, one individually, all the goons are smarter than you, George, and we know how to use computers, and we have recorded your show, and I, among others, are going to give it to this lady as evidence for a slander case against you, because we think it was very slanderous, she thinks it was very slanderous, and you're in a whole pile of shit. It's great. And lastly, what I wanted to say was, you ain't even going back on the radio. Everybody complained about you, not just us. Yeah, I think a couple of the goons complained, but apart from that, there were so many complaints. You ain't going back on there. They didn't even advertise your show. I called up to check whether you were going on air so that night to see whether you were really going on, and I said to the guy, I said, hey, is George Yared on the air tonight? He said, who? I said, George Yared. He said, who? I said, is Gorgeous George on the show, mate? He said, who is Gorgeous George? He works at the station and he didn't even know who you were. That's how important you are, George. Not very. So anyway, yeah, fuck you, George. You know, you're a prick. You just confirmed it. I've never listened to one of your shows live before. I'm going to keep doing it, though, because listening to it live, man, it is so much more fun than seeing clips. Because it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just seeing it live as some kind of a special feeling to me where it makes me physically sick rather than just gives me a headache. But it's kind of addictive watching someone train crash right in front of you. So yeah, you'll be hearing a lot more from me, George, and I look forward to it. So yeah, fuck you, prick.